I want to have a quick conversation about Turo. A lot of folks talk about Turo, but they have no idea about how the site really works, how to make money, and some of the mistakes to really avoid. So, in today's conversation, I want to really review everything that you need to know about Turo. So, here are my opening remarks. When you think about Turo, I want you to think about a new kind of car rental service that allows you to make money on the side, so you don't have to you don't have to drive the car. You can actually outsource the driving of the car, or you can drive it yourself, not a problem. And so for renters, this is a unique way to reduce rental costs because Turo prices average 25 to 30% less than big rental companies. And the platform also gives renters a wider selection of vehicles from classic cars. You have SUVs, sedans, you have super deluxe class cars, and more. So you have a lot of variety here. So when you think about Turo, basically, I want you to think about an all-in-one service. Okay, this is basically the way I want you to think about it. I want you to think about the Turo as the Airbnb of cars. So instead of renting a car from a big rental company such as Avis, Budget, or others, people can rent cars from individuals, and the average host makes about $545 to $750 per month on Turo. And Turo is really similar to Hire Car, another peer-to-peer rental service. And these are an interesting way to make money while offsetting the cost of your car payment. So that's kind of cool. And one thing I want to say here is that it's actually, I want you to look at Turo also as a fairly passive source of extra income. That means you're not trading time for money. You list your car when you know it will be available, and you earn that extra cash with very little work. So that's kind of cool in terms of having like a great source of cash inflow. One thing I want to say here is that there are a few things you need to really pay attention to on Turo in terms of making sure that the car is actually is sent back to you in top shape, in tip top shape, if you will. And because otherwise, I mean, you are basically depreciating your car real fast. So of course you can make money. It is a passive source of income, but you have to make sure that there are certain things that will you have to put in place so that your car is not depreciated a lot faster through through the renting of the car. So it's important to really think about that. So I've already established the fact that when you actually are thinking about Turo, you basically have a car, that's for sure, and you are trying to make cash on the side. Now, there are more ways to make money with your car. So Turo is not the only strategy to actually make money with your car. You have DoorDash, you have Instacart, you have Hire Car. So you have a lot of players in this very competitive industry. The funny thing is that a lot of folks made a lot of cash during COVID, because during COVID, all those companies, they needed extra vehicles to actually run their business and run their businesses. So Turo and DoorDash and Instacart and Hire Car, they really were they were booming like crazy. So when we talk about DoorDash basically you are getting paid to deliver food, okay? And the cool thing about DoorDash is that you can set your own hours, and you can make anywhere from $15 to $25 per hour. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of decent. So $15 to $25 per hour. What about Instacart? Well, Instacart is actually great also because you are making money delivering groceries. So basically you are interacting with customers. So this is actually a C2C, or if you will, a B2C sort of model. That's kind of cool. And with Instacart, you actually work as an in-store or full service shopper. So you have flexibility. I mean, DoorDash, you set your own hours. Before Instacart, you have the flexibility. You can either work as an in-store professional or as a full service shopper. You have to see what works for you, what's actually available, what actually fits your schedule. And with Instacart, in terms of the money you make about $15 to $25 per hour too. So you have the same sort of the same income that you make on DoorDash. So that's kind of cool. And what about Hire Car? Well, Hire Car is kind of similar to a Turo in the sense that you are making money renting out your car, and so that's really good in terms of flexibility. And so when we think about the real flexibility I'm speaking about, you can set your own rates and availability, and you can make somewhere from $700 to $1,000 a year. I mean, not a year, a month. So $700 to $1,000 a month, depending on your geography. So depending on the states, the city, the county where you are at. So that's kind of cool. And the Turo is actually kind of similar too. I'll speak about the money you can make on Turo later on in depth. I want to talk to you about how Turo works. Let's really go a little more granular so we have a clear idea about how Turo works. And the platform is pretty easy to use. No, nothing really complicated. No steep learning curve. Okay. And so basically, you have about when you think about Turo, I want you to think about nearly 500,000 cars. Okay, so they are listed on the site, and listing your car is free, and it takes about 5 to 10 minutes. Very, very straightforward. So 500,000 cars are available, and listing your car is free. Now, of course, when we speak about 500,000 cars, there are certain areas they will be more competitive than others, right? If you take big cities like New York, LA, or Chicago, of course, you'll have more competition because you have a lot of folks who are listing their cars. But if you are in a small town somewhere in Delaware or in Massachusetts, of course you have less competition. So it's all about really it's all about the geography, but also the seasonality. So the timing. So there are certain times of the year they're busier than others, right? So around the holidays, for instance, you might have a certain level of competition than in the summer, for instance. So what you have to do here is that, in terms of listing and making money on Turo, you have to create a free account on Turo. Okay, everything is free, by the way. And you list your car on Turo. So listing is free, and you can get an estimated daily rental price with Turo's calculator, not calculator, but calculator. You'll need to describe your vehicle and take high quality photos showing its features. And you will actually receive a notification when someone requests to book your vehicle. So that's kind of cool because Turo can let you know via the app or via SMS or in some cases via email. So the flexibility is there too. And so if you agree to the request, you meet your guest at a predetermined location, check their license, do a walk around, make a note of fuel and mileage, and hand off the keys. So that's kind of you are actually in control here, okay? And you actually meet the guest when the trip is over and check out your car. So you have to check out your car before giving the keys, and actually after receiving the keys from your guest rather, and you get paid. Turo pays via PayPal for international host and ACH payments for US host. You will be paid for your first trip up to 72 hours after the trip ends. However, if the trip is more than a week long, Turo will pay you in partial payments starting after day 7. Let's talk about more ways to make money with your car. So the Turo calculator or calculator will give you an estimate of what you can earn per day for your car. That's pretty straightforward, and that amount actually has to deal with, as I said a little earlier, the timing, the chronology, but also the geography. So where you are at, whether this is a competitive space or not, and you can search by city. But if your city is not listed, you can get the U.S. average for your car. Okay. And the calculator starts by looking at up-to-date market value from Edmunds or Canadian Black Book and Turo's automatic pricing, which basically includes age and condition, style, trim, and features. You have ease of pickup and drop-off, ease of parking, other Turo cars in the area. So this is always important, right? They're looking at, so the calculator is looking at supply and demand among other things, and that makes sense because this is an economic model. And so the estimate you get from the calculator is just an estimate. Remember that it's not a set number. It is just an estimate, and you can set your own pricing, minimum of $10 per day, and turn automatic pricing off in the app. So you have that flexibility there. And Turo says automatic pricing will boost your earnings by adjusting the price to match demand. Because remember, it's always about supply and demand. And what happens here is that you may see the price change based on time of the year, day of week, events in your area, etc. As I said a little before, right? It's all about the demographics, the geography, and the chronology. So to make your car more attractive to renters, you can set weekly and monthly discounts, and you can even accept custom price requests, especially if you find a loyal renter. And you keep 65 to 90% of the daily rental price of your car. So remember that number, 65% to 90%. In other words, Turo is keeping 10% to 35%. So that's really something to think about. And Turo keeps the remainder of the rental costs for insurance, roadside assistance, and customer support. And Turo reports that U.S. hosts make an average of $700 to $1,000 per month. So that's kind of cool. That's really good. And one thing I want to say also is that you can earn 90% of the rental fee if you offer extras. So you'll receive 100% of reimbursement incurred by your renters, including fuel replacement, tickets, tolls, and cleaning or smoking fees. I'll explain the extras later on, okay? So that's kind of cool. Let me give you a few bonus tips here. So what are the best cars to rent on Turo? So if you're thinking about Turo this year, I want to give you a few ideas about the cars, the vehicle, the makes and models that are really popular on the platform right now. So Turo has a nice guide that explains the best performing models, defined as earning over double their estimated monthly payments on average. Okay, remember that, double. So double means what? You are having more ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching in your account. And Jeep Wranglers are Turo's best performing model. But here are some other cars that do well on Turo by class. We'll put this on the screen so you have a clear idea of what I'm speaking about, especially if you are interested in going in Turo actually on a full-time basis. In other words, you're working, your car is sitting in the garage, and you feel like, listen, I better really list this car and really make some extra cash on the side. So daily drivers are interested in Fiat 500 and Ford Fiesta. We'll put this on the screen, okay? And for sports cars, you have a Ford Mustang and a Chevy Camaro. So those are great cars to actually think about. For luxury cars, you have an Audi A3 and a Mercedes-Benz CLA class. That's kind of cool. And for trucks and SUVs, you have Jeep Wrangler and Jeep Cherokee. And for vans and minivans, you have a Dodge Grand Caravan and Nissan Quest. So that's kind of cool to really think about. Now, one thing I want to say here is that when we speak about, of course, those popular cars, the popularity may actually vary, right? I mean, this car, like the Fiat 500, may be popular today and may not be popular tomorrow. So it really depends on a lot of things and stuff that's happening in your area too. So basically, if you have a festival, for instance, or if you have, let's say, a big concert, or if you have something really happening, like you have a big event, of course, so that will impact the demand and supply, and the prices will change, okay? So just be aware of that. And one thing I also want to say here is that, when you think about the best performing model, it's all about how you actually maintain your car in the first place. So maintenance is really important. So before I close this section, I want to show you again the best performing models. So for daily drivers, you have Fiat 500 and you have Ford Fiesta. For sports cars, you have Ford Mustang and Chevy Camaro. For luxury cars, you have Audi A3 and Mercedes-Benz CLA class. For trucks and SUVs, you have Jeep Wrangler and Jeep Cherokee. For vans and minivans, you have Dodge Grand Caravan and a Nissan Quest. So let me keep my promise that I told you a little earlier, that how do you add extras on Turos? In other words, how do you make more money, right? So if you want to know how much money you can make with Turo, adding extras is really one way to increase the amount you earn. So if you're interested in more cash inflows, you want to really listen really carefully here. So adding extras basically increases your earnings to 90% of the trip cost, 75 to 90% of the trip cost, okay? And so that's kind of cool. So when we speak about extras, let's really dig a little deeper here. So some of the most popular extras are prepaid refuel or a prepaid EV recharge, unlimited mileage, post-trip cleaning, one-way trip. So those are the top 4 extras that really folks love on the platform. So when I speak about prepaid refuel or prepaid EV recharge, your guest doesn't have to refuel or recharge your car before returning it, okay? And for unlimited mileage, Turo suggests pricing this as a per day option, so you can account for anywhere and tier if your guest requests and you approve a trip extension. And if you add, just remember though, if you add the feature to your listing, you're not eligible for submitting it as a reimbursement anymore. So you got to really think about the pros and cons here, okay? What about post-trip cleaning? So your guest doesn't need to clean your car before returning it. But if you select this option, Turo will not reimburse you for it unless your car is extremely dirty. So, think about that too. And what about one-way trip? Now, one-way trip actually, this option allows guests to drop off your car at a different location, but make sure that you list what is and is not acceptable. You'll also need to coordinate the details in advance and build in any cost related to picking up your vehicle, especially if the mileage is really like if the drop-off location is really far from your original location. So guests can reimburse this extras or not, and Turo recommends actually keeping track of which they select so you don't submit ineligible reimbursement. And what you need to know about insurance. So Turo protects you and your vehicle with a $1 million liability insurance policy from Liberty Mutual, and this policy protects you in the event of damage or theft. Turo also offers renters 24/7 roadside assistance and customer support, so that's kind of important to think about. So let's talk about suitability. Is Turo really worth it for you? Because if you're listening to this show, of course I've spoken about money. I've spoken about the $700 to $1,000. That's pretty good. The cash inflows is there. This is a great source of passive income. And one thing for sure, you need to really understand that Turo is not going to be for everyone, and that's totally fine because maybe you are better off on a higher car. Maybe you're just better off doing something else with your car, like Instacart or DoorDash, right? It will be really difficult to make money on Turo if your only car is your daily driver. So for some people, the added wear and tear on their car might not make Turo an appealing option because, of course, you're making $700 to $1,000 a month. But think about the wear and tear. Think about the cash outflows. Think about the expenses. Think about the maintenance that will come with this sort of extra wear and tear on the car. Okay. Now, one thing for sure, if you don't use your car regularly, Turo really is an easy way to make some passive income from your car. You can use it to offset the cost of your car payment, save up for a new car, putting an emergency fund, pay off debts, or have you. I mean, it really depends on you. And if you rent your car on Turo, it'll be important to keep up with routine maintenance, meaning oil change, new tires, new brakes, right? You want your car safe for you and anyone renting it. And keeping your car clean for guests is obviously important too. I mean, as I said a little before, like Turo is actually the Airbnb of cars. So which means that the same way you have to maintain your house, maintain your rooms, if you start renting it more regularly, it's important to really do the same thing for your car. So for the right kind of people, Turo is going to be easy money. Listing your car takes just 5 to 10 minutes, and the Turo app makes it very easy to maintain your listing and connect with guests. The reality is that your car is actually a depreciating asset. So if you can find ways to make extra money with it, why not give it a try? And there are also plenty of other options for monetizing your car, like driving for Uber or Lyft, or as I said a little earlier, delivering groceries with DoorDash. So you have the possibility there, okay? The possibilities for making extra money are there, but it's on you to take a chance and try one. So what are the ending remarks here? In today's conversation, I spoke about Turo. I give you the opening remarks, the bonus tips, the suitability, and now the end. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.